On behalf of the Alpha J Show team, I, Alpha J, am offering my deepest apologies for not covering one of the best shows on Cartoon Network in over a year. I really dropped the ball there. And when you see this episode, you're gonna be upset too. I'm here to state my case that Mao Mao is the best show running on Cartoon Network right now. I'm sure everyone's expecting a banger episode to prove so, and I am confident that Adoradad is that episode. We start with the main trio, Badgerclops, Mao Mao, and Adorabat, respectively training on combat, in particular Adorabat's anime screech, which I believe as a cartoon reviewer is the official trademark term for this. I'm not a lawyer.
Hey, cool technique, Adorabat!
You're really coming into your own as a hero. We're lucky to have you on the team.
This is my personal bias, but faster paced animation for episodic comedy is just always great. There's so many things happening within this sequence alone. You have Badgerclops visibly affected by the screech, going into this bouquet, is that the right word? Bouquet style admiration, going into a literal melt of Adorabat. It's that quick, always moving sort of style that works really well with shows like this. It adds to that fast-paced nature. And in reality, it isn't really necessary to get the points they need across, but very much appreciated for going the extra mile. Getting into the plot of this episode, we see a lighter, older, sneezier Bat knock on the door asking specifically for the sheriff. We'd learned that he's looking for his daughter. Right around the same time, Adorabat went into the bathroom, setting the seeds for something sus.
Well, it's just I've been, working so much, double, triple shifts. I've been home so rarely, and I thought she was at her banjo lesson.
For 8 months?
You know, this sounds like a very busy father to let his daughter go and do something as reckless as, well, be a part of the main cast of one of the very few animated shows that have really had my deep-rooted attention. Yes, as this episode's title suggests, and as his form suggests, in Pure Heart Valley, where almost everyone looks like some form of a Care Bear or Care Bear equivalent, this bat is the dad of our bite-sized hero Adorabat. The episode also covers its bases by explaining how after all of these episodes, could Adorabat be left alone and no one figure it out. It's also in that sense that you'd wonder about the mother's side of the story. The exposition does a great job planting the right seeds to keep you interested in watching without going too heavy or too detailed. Now, as much scrutiny as I've been giving this father, I'm actually going to continue doing it. So get this, he's super friendly, kind, warm, and inviting to Mao Mao and Badgerclops, the sheriffs of this valley, being entirely cooperative, and not assuming the worst. However, as Adorabat tries to squeeze through this window and fails, it feels like they've lost -40 on the Sims relationship bar.
What's going on here? Have you been here this entire time with these strangers?
Adorabat? I thought you were a ward of the state!
I know he could fly, but never have I seen such a sharp 180. He follows the whole typical overprotective dad trope of wanting the best and safest for his kid, but possibly to the detriment of that kid's happiness and development. It's that over-sheltering that he's implied to have done pre-Mao Mao that led into Adorabat running away. And I guess the only question I'd love to be answered is that if he was working, doing double shifts here and just all over his job, bamboo blah, then how would he have had time to be so overprotective and shelter Adorabat all the time? Within the timeline that we're given, there is at least an 8-month period in which Adoradad didn't know where Adorabat was, to the point where Adorabat has easily relocated and her dad was none the wiser. So there are a few paths this seems to be going down. Path A assumes that he's always been busy, which means that so far we're missing something and this story doesn't make that much sense so far. For someone to be overprotective, they have to be here. However, he can't be here and then also working. I would imagine that that creates a direct conflict. We'd see later on that this doesn't appear to be the case, that he locks Adorabat away or has them at security. So I'm trying to understand, how is he overprotective but also he works a lot? What makes him overprotective if he's always away? So while it's the most likely path, it is also the most inconsistent. So path B assumes that he wasn't always busy. Maybe work just needed him more. Maybe he got a second job to pay for things, we're not sure. And this seems a lot more reasonable. However, it leaves me to assume that things are happening that the show didn't necessarily confirm. I would be assuming on the show's behalf. Mao Mao tries to reassure Adoradad that Adorabat has been in the best of care, but his mind is made up. Adorabat then completely reenacts a one-to-one comparison of people who get mad at YouTube and try to take it up with Google.
You people are criminals. I am calling the authorities.
Sheriff's Department, state your problem.
Yeah, by the way, I wouldn't try going over our heads, just the system is whack.
However, as a great episode does, this one-off so far character, Adoradad, gets the spotlight to showcase his own personality, good, bad, and ugly. When taking Adorabat home, away from all of these thugs, in his own words, he tries to relate to Adorabat, saying that he could be just as fun as the people that Adorabat deems fun, but quickly retracts that statement as fast as me hitting the spacebar when playing Der Blatt, back in middle school at least. It really does seem like he does care, and he doesn't do it just for vanity reasons a la a Buck from Chicken Little. In fact, if anything, it seems to stem from a fear. A fear of what? Well, the episode will answer that a little bit later.
You can't keep running away.
I'm 5 years old. I can take care of myself.
I know this doesn't make sense to you now, but I've got to keep you safe. Sorry, did you want this open? I'll just leave it cracked. How about that?
Ever since I've been in this community, cartoon community, am I even in it? I don't even know if I am, but if I am in it, there's this large reputation that the smallest things within an animated show would cause these great rants, where angry people who want shows to be exactly the way we want and nothing less, because we watch cartoons our whole lives and supposedly we think we know more than executives and the writers and showrunners and writers and staff. I said writers twice, didn't I? I'm here to tell you that this rumor is 100% correct. This pisses me off. Do not ever in your life keep my door open. And if you are gonna risk your life to keep my door open, do not ever in your life keep my door open at a crack. I hate that with every fiber of my being. Like I just want to reach to the screen and rip Adoradad's wings apart. But moving on, I do want to highlight that despite my comedy and my showing of jokes within this episode, it is actually rather emotional. In fact, a small critique that I do have is that this episode is so loaded with so many deep emotional questions that the characters can answer, and I just wish that we'd see a bit less humor, because as much as a lot of these scenes are sad, they may not come across that way when there's just a whole bunch of jokes around it. And I do understand that this is a show on Cartoon Network tailored towards kids, but like here, where Mao Mao is crying, we don't really get that much weight behind the loss because it's immediately layered with Badger Clop's confusingly no-selling Adorabat's departure, to only then have feelings once the peanut butter ice cream comes into play. Like, it's just another joke. It's also very sus, Badger, very sus. I do understand in the grand scheme of the episode that this critique is very minor, like this doesn't really affect my viewing of the episode at all, and that the intent was not to make it too sad, we're not making a Steven Universe over here, but I feel like in my personal biased take, it wouldn't have hurt this episode to be a little bit more serious. However, it doesn't affect my enjoyment of it like I said before, but it is noticeable upon watching it. You may feel like I'm joking when I say that this episode is emotional, because it's a lot of jokes that I'm showing, but it really is, and I hope to show you towards the latter half of this video. They'd eventually pull it together to battle the monster, but on their way past a certain bat's house, who may have had an idea to, get in on the action.
Time to make my escape.
I'll be right there. What?
In this way, it's actually incredibly responsible of them both. While Mao Mao is generally considered to be on the side of morally good, I can equally see him going out of his way to keep this a secret from her dad, for his own satisfaction of having his entire team with him. To have Badger Clops and Mao Mao return Adorabat against her very hyperactive and somewhat violent will gives me a new layer of respect for them, as while they see themselves as an authority, they're protecting the citizens of Pure Heart Valley over their personal opinions at this moment. And that includes respecting the opinions opinions of Adoradat's father, protecting her and him at the same time. And also, I just wanted to speak about the house. It looks very nice and warm. I love the colors. Speaking from someone who really enjoys making sim houses, this looks like one of those types of houses I try to go in and build and massively fail at and try to look up a YouTube video and just perfectly replicate that because I don't know how to interior design. It has this upper middle class look combined with the style of the show. It retains the feel of what the series generally is trying to go for. We get a really good example of the episode knowing when to lay back from the jokes and really let something sink in so that you can focus on what's important to remember.
Do you have any idea what kind of creatures come out at night? I can't protect you out there!
I used to go exploring in those caves with Mom all the time. She wasn't afraid of anything.
And then one day, Sonara, she didn't come back with you.
To summarize, as this is a longer scene than I can put in here, see my previous clip about YouTube and Google's whack systems, Adoramom was an explorer who'd, alongside Adoradad, would take Adorabat within the cave systems, the battle monsters, or just explore, and go adventuring. And I'd like to believe that it's probably here where Adorabat gained the inspiration to want to battle monsters just like her mother. And this makes sense with how the first episode starts, with Adorabat having a clearly different personality than her peers, wanting to fight then be cutesy and lazy and soft. It's with that Adoradad confirms that something happened to Adoramom one day, which led into Adorabat being raised by a single parent. In the way that this has permanently scarred Adoradad from wanting to do anything remotely fun or risky, this has not put a stop to Adorabat's plan of being a hero. This has led to the dissonance between the two, as Adoradad, while wanting the best for his daughter, doesn't want to lose the two people that he appears to love the most to a monster. And while Adorabat appears to understand the risk of being a hero, seems to also understand that this might be genetically in her blood and no one can stop her. As much as Adoradad tries to walk over the issue simply by laying down the traditional "you'll understand when you're older" tactics, we don't really get a confirmed, clear, explicit answer as to why Adorabat doesn't harbor any visibly affected feelings towards Adoramom, and a changed opinion towards what she died doing. Adoradad assumes because of an open window and a photo that Adorabat must have went out to that cave that she insinuated that she'd go earlier. Adorabat assumes that just because of a photo and open window that Adoradad went into the cave that she insinuated she'd go into earlier. What a twist. Great transition aside, we'd get a trail of rolled up tissue paper. This will be very important later, and we also get this.
Sonara's class. I guess it didn't see me.
Being clearly out of his element, we see that there is a completely untouched for what appears to be about a year or so artifact of Adoramom. Upon sneezing and making a complete fool of himself trying to solve the problem on his own, he awakens the monster of this episode. It's a very clever design, taking the opportunity to reinterpret what vision could mean for a being, who is clearly implied within the episode to use sound waves to track where something is, rather than what we would call eyes. I think it's a subtle touch that Adoradad most likely wouldn't trust the authorities at this point within the episode. We see a glorious battle between Adorabat and the monster, in which Adoradad, through his cracked lens, gains true clarity, seeing that while Adoramom physically left, she didn't spiritually. Adorabat gives it her all, including the anime screech, which alerts Mao Mao and Badgerclops to join in. I do enjoy that Mao Mao is taking this very personally, given that they've had so many adventures together. I wouldn't have enjoyed this episode nearly as much if Mao Mao went the too much to care route, the way that Badgerclops kind of did within the beginning of this episode, which, while natural, just wouldn't have felt right given the emotional direction that this episode wanted to go. A great battle ensued that I don't really want to spoil a lot of, but it was great, ending exactly how you'd predict, with Mao Mao and the crew on top, specifically highlighting Adorabat's efforts as the one who successfully took down the monster. It's there where Adoradad sees what we all see in Adorabat, a character that, while pretty weak on her own, can make for a great teammate, and while lacks in physical strength, makes up well for it with her morale, enthusiasm, and heart. It's a very wholesome episode in which Adoradad sees Adorabat as being able to handle herself, not only being competent at battling but also loving her job. And thus, we get a very wholesome and happy ending.
Hey! Wait up! You can't just leave without the most fearless member of the group.
The true crime here is that Cartoon Network could have easily had an amazing Mao Mao special here. This could have been stretched out into an hour-long special. You could have delved deeper into Adoradat's past. The fight at the end could have been a little bit more elaborate. The emotional journey just would have had a lot more room to grow and invest due into the feels and everything. But nope. 11 minutes, that's all you get. It's bittersweet because rarely does an episode make me feel so captured within the world and ideas that it animates in the way that this episode did. And what perfect timing, it's getting to around December, and I've always loved to chronicle the best and worst things that I've reviewed in the year, and honestly this might be my top 3. Who knows? It's been a pretty good year so far.
Mess him up good, okay?
Okay, Daddy. I'll mess them up. I'll mess them up real good. So good, their mommies and daddies won't be able to recognize them when I'm done.
And this is what, man, I hit my desk. This is what separates Adoradat from the Stevens, KOs, Lincolns, Finns, Mabels, etc. Adoradat, to your face, told you that for her own personal enjoyment, she will disfigure them past the point of recognition. That's awesome. Now that's weird. And you know the weird kid in school who thought basically like this. This is pretty weird. Not freaking witches. Pretty sure I'm gonna have to cover that show again. Well, this was an incredible episode based off of an incredible series. I'm sorry I haven't gotten around to it sooner. I've been incredibly slacking. Hopefully this review will make up for it and I can get to more Mao Mao in the future. Anyway, let me know what you guys think, and always, thank you so much for your time. Take care. Alpha out.